how about the academic part? How about the teachers in that first semester at the beginning of the MBA? How was the classes? Do you find something unusual or something that surprised you during that first part of the MBA?
Yes, so like the professors and the teachers were like great. It's a completely different type of academic experience compared like to an undergrad in Peru, for example. An undergrad in Peru, you go to the classes, you go to lectures, right? They teach you how to like the formula, or like it's basically a lecture where the professor teach you everything, right? In here at Tuck and in the United States, they follow a lot like the case study method. So you will have like a case you have to read for before the class. Like for example, I don't know, a case about Starbucks or another company with a business problem related to the class that you are like taking. And then the whole class, it's basically discussing the case and how would you crack the case, and then you will know if your hypotheses were correct or not, and the professor will teach you the best way to crack the case in that way. And it was very fun because sometimes, not in every class, but in many classes, the person or the CEO or the like CMO, CEO that was like the protagonist in the case, many times it was in the class. You didn't know him, and it was in the back of the class just listening of how students of the MBA would crack like the problem. And it was like very fun then at the end knowing that the person that it was like did all the things in the case was actually behind you. And sometimes you are criticizing his or her job or how they acted at that point. So it was like a very cool experience, completely different than a lecture in an undergrad in Peru. So it's the academic part, that part is very fun.
Okay, excellent. So, for example, do you remember a particular case in which one of the protagonists was at the class of a important company? Do you have any story about that?
Yeah, so it was definitely something that happened. Is this happened a lot in my last semester that we were virtual because of COVID. So it was easier that the person in the case were actually present in the class, right? So it was a class about strategy in emerging markets. And we saw like different cases about different countries, and one was related to Cuba. I don't remember the specific of the case, but this person was one of the first persons that during Fidel's Cuba like put like private investment right in the country. And all the people say like, you're crazy, how you're doing this, how you're going to invest in this. And he told that, and basically he became close friends with Fidel, and the case was like how to manage all like the expectations in a very difficult country, and how to do business in that part. And he was in the call, right? And then at the time, it was not too much about criticizing, but he went into details and told us about like the relationship of like with him, with the government, how he managed like all the stakeholders involved, because it was the government, it was like their headquarters. So having like, he got into details like how to manage the stakeholders in a very difficult situation and in a very difficult country to make business. And it was like very fun to know the story from him like in the class, right? So that's one of the main ones that I remember.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned many times about how do you study in Peru, your undergrad. Some people believe that, maybe he or her, let's say he studied business administration at a good university in Latin America, and then they say, well, but I already studied business administration, so maybe the MBA is not gonna give me too much value when I go, and maybe I should study something else. How do you see that? What do you think about that reasoning?
Yeah, so like I don't think like an MBA is going to be repetitive in that way. for two things. The first one is like the academic part. As I said, it's a completely different academic experience that you had before. Also, depends on the MBA program, but for example, there are MBA programs that you don't have a core curriculum, so you choose your courses since the beginning. So if you want to learn more about finance, you are going to be able to learn more about finance or marketing. You basically like customize your curriculum, right? In the case of TOEFL, you have two terms that are core curriculum, and the idea of that is to put everyone at the same level. So everyone knows exactly the same about finance, marketing, operations, etc. And then from the next like 4 terms that you have in the MBA, you will choose the courses that you want. So that's one part. So it's not going to be repetitive. So I concentrated a lot in finance and also like in soft skills courses like leadership, power and influence. So more like touchy feelings things that normally in the undergrad you don't have. And the second part is that the MBA is not only about the academic part, it's also about like getting the job that you want. If your goal is to change careers, for example, you work in a bank, or you want to do consulting, or you want to go to a tech company, the MBA is a great platform to do that, because you're going to, like, all the big companies are going for info sessions to your university, and you will be able to apply and potentially interview for those companies that you wouldn't have an opportunity without like the platform of an MBA. So I would say from the like I said, from the academic part, it's a different experience that you could customize from whatever you want. And then in the professional part, it will allow you to change careers or go to companies that you didn't believe that you could get there without an MBA.